welcome to this episode where we're going to talk to you about our outdoor coaching and guiding qualifications, simply a myth. My name's Rob Yates, and together with my incredible business partner, Mark Hopkins, we founded We Get Outdoors. And in this series of videos, which we're going to call Business of the Outdoors, we're going to bring to you some new ways of thinking, some insights about how you can be a professional in the outdoors, how you can start an outdoor business, and how you can grow an outdoor business as well. Mark, welcome.
Thank you very much. And I must admit, your background is quite distracting. I'm trying to concentrate on the words that are coming out of your mouth. And all I'm thinking about is swimming in that lake, walking through those forests and climbing the mountains. I think next episode, I think we need to have a slightly different background.
I can just see me in a helicopter going to the top of one of those peaks, jumping out with my skis on and breaking my neck on the way down. So this topic today came out of a comment on a post on the We Get Outdoors Facebook page, Mark, where at some point in time in the past, I think I bravely said that you don't need any outdoor qualifications and you don't really need much experience to make real money in the outdoors. And somebody picked up on it and went on a massive YouTube comment rant towards me about how we don't know what we're talking about, and how about if you don't have experience, you don't have guiding and coaching qualifications, you can never make it in the outdoors, so on and so forth. And I thought we could play a bit of tennis with that concept today about, is that true? Is all of it true? Part of it true? None of it true? And what other points of view or perspectives are there out there if somebody wants to earn money in the outdoors or even build or grow a business in the outdoors? What do you reckon?
I think it's a good, and I think we're going to have enough to talk about to fill 3 hours. And I'm pretty sure we are going to piss off a lot of people who work in the outdoors. I think we're going to make a lot of people cry about what they've been doing over the last 10, 15 years. And I think there's going to be at least one person who's going to get his or her smartphone out, get the calculator open up, and add up all the money that they've spent on these qualifications, and then they've realized they could have bought the fanciest 4x4 truck in the world.
Or 3 of them, maybe. If it's all right with you, Mark, I want to start with my own career in the outdoors, which started age 16. And age 16, I was pretty clear that I wanted to be an outdoor professional. I specifically wanted to coach whitewater kayaking. And age 16, I got told by everybody that I was far too young, that I didn't have enough experience, didn't have anywhere near enough qualifications, and that those were the things that were going to be needed for me to go and have a successful career in the outdoors. And you know, when respectable people who've been in the outdoor industry, they're 55 years old, they've been in the outdoor industry for 30, 35 years, start telling you that stuff, you actually believe it. And when you look around the rest of the industry, you see loads of other people who've fulfilled that norm. And so I set about following that journey. And from the age of 16 to 31, 32-ish, that's exactly what I did. I've been on countless expeditions for months and months and months at a time, anywhere from 3 months to 2 years, and got a huge array of qualifications across multiple different disciplines in the outdoors. Instructor trainer, guide assessor, the coach trainer, coach assessor, the whole lot. And then when I set my own business up, business was a struggle. And when I got my own business to start making money, I actually found out that 99.5% of all of those qualifications and experience that I got weren't being used on a daily basis to make real money. In fact, actually, if I'd just been 21 years old and applied a really small amount of logic with a really small amount of experience, that's probably all I'd have need to have made a few $100,000 a year, and some business acumen as well. And I guess that's the journey that people go on in the outdoor industry, Mark, is they spend all of this time, huge amounts of money, often like volunteering their time to get enough coaching hours in or enough guiding hours in, to before you can go and sit those assessments. And really, there isn't much money to be made off all of those fancy qualifications. Now, that's a slap in the face.
Yeah, and I think it's not just the outdoor industry that gets this wrong, right? We've got clients and friends, and I'm going to talk about two different professions, similar professions, but different to the outdoors, just to prove how what the outdoors does is following a model that lots of people get wrong. So we're going to talk about a friend, a chiropractor. Now, this chiropractor, so imagine a chiropractor and someone in the outdoors. They've both got the passion for doing something. A chiropractor, like an outdoor person, goes on the same journey. They get as many qualifications as they possibly can till they become a practicing chiropractor. Now, the problem, in the 7 or 8 years it takes them to become a chiro, they get probably half an hour of tutoring about how to run a chiro business. So they end up being time broke. They might be financially all right, but if you work out how many hours they work to how much money they get, they are properly broke. So that's an interesting one, that the same model and it's broken doesn't work. The other one, I'm not sure, it might have been even you who told me about this. There was a study done recently about GPs, doctors, general practitioners. And they did a comparison between the accuracy of diagnosis depending on experience. So they looked at GPs who were recently qualified in the first 10 years and those who had been in a GP for 30 years plus. And do you know which group were more accurate in the diagnosis?
The ones who've just qualified, I'd have guessed.
Exactly. The ones who had just qualified were much more accurate in the diagnosis because they were more up to date. And guess what? They earned about the same thing. So again, it just looks at that it's not always about either your experience. It's not about being a GP for 30 to 35, 40 years, or the number of certificates you have on the wall that makes you a better GP. Because again, and a chiro, yes, has a job to do, which is fix people. But that's what their service they're offering. What they really are is a businessman or woman. That's what they are. And it's the same in the outdoors. And this is our difference of opinion to a lot of people in the outdoors, especially that person who made that abusive message towards you. Is, yes, do you need certain qualifications in order to take people safely into the outdoors? 100% you do. But do you need millions of qualifications to make a lot of money in the outdoors? Not at all. It's probably actually the best way to go broke in the outdoors.
When you look at it, Mark, our accountant, as a deviation, our accountant is not a qualified accountant. He employs qualified accountants. Yes, he's done some management accounting and he owns an accounting business, but he's the business owner. He's not actually the accountant who does the work. He employs the accountants. But let's think about this logically for a second. The route to any business being successful is having as many paying customers, profitably paying customers in the business as possible, right? That's generally the route to making a successful at anything. Whether you're self-employed, freelance, own your own business, it's as many customers as possible. And a lot of business practice would say, well, you should be niche. You should go and be the very, very, very best whitewater kayak, for instance, coach, guide, whatever it may well be that there is. And there is a small degree of truth to that. But we have to ask ourselves, how many of those whitewater kayakers, for instance, because it could be, I don't know, ice climbers, it could be heli skiers, it could be anything of the above, couldn't it? It doesn't have to be kayaking. How many of them are there floating around? and how much money are they willing to spend on, for instance, being coached in the outdoors? And the answer probably is there's very few, and they're not really willing to spend that much, really. And when you get into that more treacherous, dangerous, risky terrain, the numbers of people who you sensibly can work with at any one point in time get smaller, because the taking somebody for a walk around the park or taking somebody for a walk up Everest, well, it makes sense that you can probably look after 3 or 4 people going up Everest maximum, whereas going for a walk around the park, you can look after 13, 14 or 20 people. So the numbers skew themselves when you start to get to that riskier terrain, higher qualification level, and smaller group sizes. Suddenly your earning potential reduces, because really speaking, people are willing to pay you by the day pretty much the same, whether you're a beginner, a person who works with beginners, or a person who works with advanced hobbyists in the outdoors.
Yeah, so the counter argument to that would be, okay, so let's use that Everest Park example, because it's a really good one. So the counter argument would be, okay, Rob, I hear you. From a safety perspective, I can take less people up Everest, but I'm probably going to charge them 30 grand to do it.
Yep.
And yet I'm going to charge probably somebody $10 to walk around the park. So surely, Rob, I'm going to earn a lot more by taking 3 or 4 up Everest than I'm about taking 20, 30, 50 people around the park.
Well, so the answer is maybe yes, maybe not. Depends on your business model, really. So if we logically think about this, you can take a group, singular, of clients up Everest once a year. So that's your business window. And so let's say you can take 4, and let's say they're going to pay you 30 grand. That's $120,000 of income, plus all that expenditure of having a base camp at Everest, flights, insurances, so on and so forth. And then when they've climbed Everest, maybe they can afford to come back in 4, 5 years' time and spend another 30 grand with you to do another big peak somewhere else in the world, Alaska, South America, Africa, maybe another Nepalese or Himalayan peak. But then let's think about this. What if you were to take, 75 to 80-year-old old ladies, just for a group, for an hour and a half, 2-hour walk around the park? And what if you were to charge them $15 a week for it and take, 12? And what if you could do 4 of those groups every day, 5 days a week? And what if you could have that as a reoccurring membership where they come back week in, week out, 52 weeks of the year? Now, I haven't quite done the maths, because the maths gets a little bit more complicated at that point in time. But I'm going to guess that heads upwards somewhere in the region of $400,000.
And as you said at the start, the biggest difference is the $120,000 of income that you get for climbing Everest, probably 50% at least is wiped out in expenses. So from a profit, and this is where outdoor business owners get it wrong as well. They get so focused on revenue, they actually forget about those kind of trips are so expensive. The actual profit is very, very small. Whereas the example you gave in the wood, now I'm struggling to come up with almost one expense in that. There might be some marketing, there might be a little bit of refreshments but what I'm saying is the percentage of expenses out of that income is tiny. So when you talk about $300,000-$400,000, it's probably at least 75% minimum of profit, at least of profit, before you pay your taxes and all that kind of cool stuff.
So because I've played this game a lot, I can actually tell you what the numbers pretty clearly look like. So an Everest type experience, that could be me taking somebody on a canoe expedition down the Yukon, or some fancy canoe expedition somewhere, but it could be the extreme end of anything, which Everest would be. Roughly speaking, you're playing a a 70% expense game and a 30% profit game, if I personally do it. If I have to employ somebody, then the margin drops down to profit of 10%, 20% for the employee, 70% for the expenses of delivery. If I do the same thing that we just spoke about, 75 to 80-year-old old ladies going for a walk around the park, etc., etc., the percentages look like, if I personally deliver it, 10 to 15% business expense. There's some insurance, some fuel. There may well be a permit to go and operate a commercial venture in a state park or something like that. But it's not going to be. Those are often, the last one I had was in Washington State, and that was $300 for the year. So it's not hugely expensive. And even if you employ somebody else to do all of that for you, and you say, I'm going to market it, run the business, sell it, I'm going to train up some other people to do it because there's not much training required, and employ them, my margin would sit somewhere in the region of 60 to 65% after I've paid their salary or their wage and, the tax for them and so on and so forth. And then if climbing mountains is my hobby and my passion, well, I've got oodles of cash to go and do it with, and go and do it for me and enjoy it for me without having to take customers with me.
See, there's one other and in there, and then we'll come to the big problem. So the other and is, just out of interest, how many years, which I know we're going to talk later on about your curves, your slides. I love these slides. How many years would it take someone to be qualified enough to take someone up Everest?
I would guess in the region of 10 to 15 years.
Okay, so that's 10 to 15 years where you can't even earn the 30 grand fully because you're not qualified enough. Whereas to take people around the park, it's not going to take you long to train up. Okay, so yes, there's more profit to do the park, and you can do it a lot quicker. But here's the big problem. The big problem is climbing Everest is sexy. Let's be honest. It's something that you, as an outdoor person, because we've all got egos. Every single person in the world's got an ego. It's a much cooler thing to go and tell your mates, I've got an outdoor business that takes people up Everest. That's pretty cool. You are the big dog. You've got something that's a bit bigger than me, and I'm very proud that yours is bigger than mine. But if you think about really what that means, is you're making a choice, which you're not criticizing at all. You're making a choice that the kudos that you assign to that is more important than the life or the income or the impact you want to have on the outdoors in more people. Because like you said, the maximum you can do is 4, say, and you can do 4,000 in walking around the park over a year.
Easy.
So again, it goes, and this is what I don't think many of the outdoor business owners are currently asking themselves the right question. So the questions you've got to ask yourself is income important to me? Yes or no? Do I want to earn as much money as possible through the outdoors? Yes or no? Is impact important to me? Do I want to have a positive impact on other people in the outdoors? And is my aim to have as many? Like you and I, Rob, we've got this target of 1 million people. We want to positively impact through the outdoors 1 million people. So our model is all about that. And then the third thing is, which I know you've experienced a lot when you ran your outdoor business, is lifestyle. Now, what kind of lifestyle do I want to have? And I know you've got your stories of running your outdoor business when it started up, and then in the off season, having to go and shovel bricks and lift bricks and carry stuff around just to stay open. Mm-hmm. Again, outdoor business owners, we've had so many, and you've used this one example, but my gosh, I sometimes laugh at some of the comments. Like the one guy who was screaming and shouting about how many nights he had in the mountain compared to somebody else. And then when you look at his business, I think his business was so small that he generated $10,000. Now, again, we're not criticizing. We're not saying we're better than that person. What we're saying is every now and again, you as a business owner who happens to use the outdoors to earn an income just needs to stop and ask yourself some questions. And if you're happy with the answers to your questions, I'm happy to go and do Everest because that I find more exhilarating. And that's the lifestyle. I'm happy to go and spend 3 or 4 months doing that. I'm happy to not work I'm happy, then cool. But also what we're saying is just maybe stop and think there could be another way for you to do it. And we're not saying you're not going to end up climbing the outdoors, but what we always talk about is like you said at the start, is find something that you can put as many people into the top as possible, like Amazon. Amazon just has millions of people coming in at the top. And then you can get more and more people.
Or $9 a month for Amazon Prime. There you go.
Just put as many people in your top and you're going to make money.
And there is a hybrid opportunity in this, in as much as there's very few businesses out there that are set up that can take somebody down up Everest or the Everest equivalent for their outdoor business. It doesn't matter whether it's hunting, fishing, skiing, kayaking. There's an Everest equivalent for everything. You know, the cream of the crop, the biggest of the big, whatever you want to call it. And everybody struggles with finding enough customers who are willing to pay a reasonable enough price point, because they have to earn all of their income through 3, 4, or 5 Everest trips a year. That's what they've got. They've got to do. But it won't be Everest. It will be, Kilimanjaro, Everest, Kilimanjaro. I don't know, Mont Blanc, and a couple of others. And yet, what if we were to say, when we set our outdoor business up, I'm going to develop the best possible relationship with tens of thousands of customers over the first 5 years. And I mean tens of thousands. And we're going to find a way of doing that. And we're going to use the outdoors in the broadest possible sense. So the outdoors could be outdoor photography. It could be walking in the park. It could be it could be slacklining in a kid's playground somewhere. I mean, there's 1,000,001 different things that you could go and do. And we're going to charge some money for it and get a whole lot of loyalty. And then yes, of course we want to take clients up Everest. I get it. I still want to take clients on huge canoe expeditions and sea kayak expeditions in really remote places. But what that base would allow me to do is to not worry about making a profit through taking clients to Greenland to go sea kayaking, for instance. Because even if I made a loss doing it, it doesn't matter, because the business is making so much profit that I'm all good, thanks very much. Do you know what I mean? My money's already taken care of, and I'm doing that trip to fulfill my ego as opposed to fill my bank balance.
So what exactly you've just said is why we believe all these fancy qualifications in order to earn money in the outdoors is a myth. They are very, very important to stroke your ego. Very, very important.
And if the only thing you want to do is, I don't know, guide whitewater kayaking trips down the Grand Canyon, take heli skiing trips in the Andes, climb Everest, or anything else like that, then those qualifications are necessary, are needed, as is the experience and knowledge that comes with them. However, those qualifications on their own are not the ticket to they're not the ticket to earning a great wage or earning a great salary or earning a great living. They really aren't. They really. I mean, Mark, I was gobsmacked when I became a coach, trainer, assessor for British Canoeing. And I delivered their coach education courses all over the world. And the difference in my daily income through me doing a beginner's whitewater kayaking day, big coaching, and running quite a high-end coach education training program, et cetera, using all those fancy qualifications. The difference in my income was about $75 to $125 a day, depending upon where I was working. And yet, with the beginner's packages, I got to go home every night, or I got to bring my family with me. With the coach education stuff, it was fly to the other side of the world, tie yourself up for a week, get over jet lag, be away from home for a week. And then when it came to me wanting to have 3 weeks to go and do a trip for myself, The negotiation with my wife about I want to go salmon fishing in Alaska on my own for 3 weeks, where she was always of the no mindset because I'd already spent 35 weeks away from home in the past year on my own without her, well, she didn't want me doing another 3 weeks. Whereas when I flipped the business and started being home more often, I got to get 3 or 4 3-week trips a year in for myself because I was home consistently. And I had the cash to fund it, and all those problems got removed. So are the qualifications a myth? No, not necessarily. They're great things. They give you huge amounts of knowledge, expertise, skills, and knowledge. But are they the ticket to you making $50, $100, $200, or even $400,000 a year? Absolutely not.
A really good friend of mine, who you've got to know as well, is a water skiing coach. And he goes to these, these all-inclusive in the Med holidays, these Mark Nielsen Warner holidays where you go there. And he is a competent, good water skier, but nothing fancy. His sessions were, I think he said 3 or 4 times oversubscribed than the fancy top of the range water ski instructor. And again, I think it's, and again, from my background, so my outdoor is just a passion. I've coached hockey, field hockey, to quite a high level. And as you know, I coached at the World Cup last year. I've never played international hockey. Never. I'm not, so again, if you look at that with the outdoors, the hockey players I was coaching were a million times better hockey players than I've ever been. So it's not about the qualifications or the experience about it. It was about the environment I created. Why was he over 3 or 4 times oversubscribed? Because he ensured that the people who he worked with had the best time ever that kept coming back. And I think that's the thing that sometimes the problem you have when you have all these qualifications and this knowledge and this is you are so desperate to impart that knowledge that you forget why people are actually wanting to do things with you. They just want to hang out with you and have fun.
And that's so true. You think what Maslow's hierarchy of needs tells us. And I often think that people get it the wrong way around because they try and do learning first and then worry about everything else afterwards. And if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs and simplify it, it pretty much says that the job of somebody with somebody else should be ensuring their safety in a non-dogmatic way to start with, regardless of what you are. So then we could say, well, taking little old ladies for a walk around the park once a week and looking at the birds and having a cup of tea and having a chat about the world or whatever it may be. What does somebody need to be competently good at to ensure their safety? Well, that would be vastly different to being a mountain leader, just for argument's sake. The middle part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs talks about all sorts of things, but mostly you could go and capture that in enjoyment or enjoyability, having fun, those sorts of things. And that's not the coaches, guides, leaders, instructors version of fun. It's the customer's version of fun. And how do you know if they're having fun? Because they're laughing. There we are. That's there. And the top bit, really, you could go and say is learning. And so I've met countless outdoor coaches around the world who get huge amounts of work. In fact, often I actually got given work by them because they had so many offers. They're not that good at the learning part, I have to be honest. But what they are is they keep everybody safe and everybody comes off having the best day of their life or the best morning of their life or the best week of their life. Huge smiles, massive adventures, new friends gained, new stories to tell. They've seen something new, experienced something new, and most of all, feel like they've got this new friend in the outdoor professional that they can't wait to go and see next week.
I think that's such a cool point because I think people may be listening to us and go, Mark and Rob, you're pure capitalists. All you're talking about is how to make more money in the outdoors. And that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is what we want to do, we want to help outdoor businesses, is just think a little bit, say, how can you get more people into the outdoors having fun? Because as you said right at the start, the more people you get into the outdoors through your business having fun, the knock-on effect is they're going to give you more money at some point in the future. So we're not capitalists. We just want to, we want to make money ourselves, but we want to do it in a way that is balancing all the things that are important. And again, it's not about, my gosh, that guy, I've got 500, 2,000 nights in a freaking cave, and well done you. You know, I could give up my life for 3 years and I could get more. Doesn't make me any bigger than you, any better than you. Just put it away and stop pretending it's big.
I have to be honest, I did have to bite my tongue. I didn't reply to that message. I was about to, because it was aimed at me, because it was a kind of a do you know who I am type message. And I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. That's very nice for you. But if I was to share my logbook with you, you quickly find out I've got 5 to 7 times more experience than knowledge. Well, maybe not knowledge, but certainly more experience than that. So be careful about bragging about stuff if there's people out there with far more than you've got.
Yeah, and I think that's why, again, we want a challenge. We want a challenge. So again, what we want to do is we want to ensure that people who start an outdoor business are still there 10 years later. Because if they're there 10 years later, it means they've impacted lots and lots of people, which is brilliant. That's what we want. We want more people in the outdoors, respecting the outdoors, looking after the outdoors, experiencing the outdoors. Because again, with you and I, if we go outdoors, our kids do it, then their kids, and then we protect the outdoors. But again, let's not do it in a way that is just so ego-driven about having these certificates on the wall that really just mean that you've spent a load of money on stuff that's given you more knowledge. Doesn't make you, like you've just said, doesn't make you a better guide, a better leader. It just makes you having a little bit more knowledge.
It's true. And I believe in an outdoor business that eventually, for it to grow to a really big size, or a really big profit size, that there is a need for an outdoor business to have those cream of the crop trips, expeditions, and experiences like an Everest or a Yukon canoe expedition or whatever it may well be. I firmly believe there is a need for that because it makes the business look good. It looks sexy. It's whatever else. But that's not the backbone of the business. That's there for PR, for marketing, to have something fancy to say, hey, look what we did this year. It wasn't that cool. The backbone of the business really needs to be thousands or tens of thousands of customers who all would like to do that cream of the crop experience with you in the future. They're just not there yet. And as a hobbyist, they'd like to walk a path with you from complete beginner through to complete expert over a period of 5 to 10 years. Now we've got a sustainable business.
Because if you think about the biggest challenge those real niche outdoor businesses have, one is their expenses go through the roof as they have to keep buying kit. And then secondly, if they're taking 6 people and 3 cancel, that's their whole income gone. It's such a risky way to run a business. And that's the way that outdoor business owners just have to start thinking. They have to ask themselves some very different questions, like the chiro does, like the doctor does. Just start thinking about yourself, not as a kayak coach who now wants to earn money being a kayak coach. It's how do I want to make a sustainable business that can look after my family, myself, and my customers.
Now, there was a really good business in Seattle. It still exists today, I'm pretty sure. I know it's changed hands since I worked with them, called Kayak Academy. People can go check it out in Seattle. And Kayak Academy, when I did some consultancy work for them, was owned by George and Barb Gronseth. And George and Barb, if you're watching, hello, you're incredible people. And everybody thought that their business was made out of retailing kayaking equipment and coaching of sea kayaking mostly. And yet the thing that held their business together and really made them all of the large profitable money was they had a rental location on Lake Sammamish, and they had queues of people for months of the year waiting every day of the week to go and rent canoes and kayaks from them and stand-up paddle boards to go for a paddle. Now, I don't know what their revenue was, but I would guess, having seen the numbers of people and knowing what they charge, upwards of $2, $3, maybe $400,000 a year in revenue, of which is probably 50%, 60% profitable because they got other people to run it the entire time. From that, just renting of gear to people who want to spend 2 hours going for a paddle on a stand-up paddleboard on a lake on a Saturday afternoon. And I think that's the bit that's missed by most outdoor businesses. Alder Creek in Portland, Oregon, I think they've reduced their shop size by 2/3, if not closed it completely in the past 5-6 years. And they've now got 4 rental locations themselves because that's where they're going to make a real business and make the money, the income that they want, and free up the owner's time to go and do what it is they want to do when it is they want to do it, as opposed to being trapped to having to, that thing where you've got to be there at 8 a.m. at the shop to go and put the key in the door and unlock it. And if you don't do it, you make no money that day and nobody else will do. That really is the location shop, I've got an outdoor centre trap that a lot of people fall into. And it's such a shame because so many people end up either leaving the industry or resenting their business because the business feels like a prison that they've created for themselves.
So let's, what we're saying is there is definitely a need for qualifications in the outdoors. We would be absolutely stupid to say otherwise. So getting a qualification is incredibly important if it is a necessity for your business model. And all outdoor businesses at some point have to have some level of training qualifications in order to do things safely in the outdoors. However, do not go blindly down the path of qualification. Do a little bit of experience, get another qualification, get another bit of experience, qualification, because that journey will take you 10 to 15 years at least, like Rob said, to get to a place where you are as risky, or even if not more risky than you were 10 to 15 years ago, because you are at shit or bust stage. You can have a great time where all your clients are there and nothing happens, or the season could be closed, Everest could be closed, 5 people cancel, and you are bust. That's 15 years of done, gone.
That's it. And even in COVID last year in 2020 and carrying on to 2021, every outdoor business took a hit. There is no doubt about that. There was a big increase in the US in a lot of retailers had massive boom periods in August, September, October, November. But generally speaking, most businesses took a hit last year. And it's very interesting. Mark, I interview a lot of outdoor professionals. Rolf Oostra comes to mind, who does guide on Everest. He owns 360 Expeditions, guides up Everest, has done for many years, and Kilimanjaro and loads of other big peaks in the world. He didn't work last year, period. Like it all came to a grinding halt. And yet I know of other outdoor businesses who have a very different model, who lost 8 to 10 weeks worth of revenue last year and then carried on because their business model permitted them to. They didn't lose the backbone of their business. And I think we have to think wider about how an outdoor business can work and understand that if you model the biggest, best outdoor businesses in the world, and I'll throw one out there by names of PGL that's in the UK. Well, actually, it's not just in the UK, it's actually multinational now. Listed on the stock exchange. When they buy a new outdoor centre these days, they normally buy it for $12 to $15 million when they buy it and kit it out. And yet all they do is take groups of kids from schools for a week to give them a taster experience of a range of outdoor experiences. And then next week, new groups arrive. And they have an occupancy of like 3,000 kids at a time. And they make millions and millions and millions and millions, hundreds of millions a year profit. But they don't go up Everest. They don't go down the Grand Canyon. They don't do anything very sexy. They just do that main thing. And the owners of PGL, well, most of those would retired early, and most of those can afford to go do all of those cool expeditions and trips and things, and even fancy qualifications. Now they've made some cash for themselves.
So I think we've given people lots to think about. I think what we're saying to outdoor business owners is just stop and think. Think about some really important questions that you need to answer. Like, how much money do I want to make? What kind of impact do I want to have in the outdoors? What kind of lifestyle do I want? What kind of time frame do I want to get a return? How do I want to exit and retire at some point in the future? So before you blindly go and follow the same advice that Rob got given when he was 16 by those people who have been there, done that, and probably are financially exactly the same place they were 30 years ago, maybe go and think about looking at other industries and other people who are doing things slightly differently to go and have the lifestyle and the impact and the income that is tailored to you. So with that, I think, Rob, we've given enough people, we've probably punched a few people on the face. Like I said, I think a few people have got their calculators out and worked out, oh my gosh, I've spent 60 grand on these qualifications. If only I'd have thought slightly differently. There's other people who are phoning up, they're looking at their client list and going, these guys better not cancel because I'm in the shit. And there's probably one person who's going, maybe I shouldn't have made a stupid comment about how many nights I've slept in the mountains before.
That's it. Now, listen, if anybody watching this wants to jump on a free call with Mark or myself and talk about their business and how they can go and adopt quickly and easily some of what we've spoken about into their business, we're going to put a link in the comments section below. It's a link to our schedules, and you can go in there, book a time, 1 hour for free with either of us, and discuss this. How can I put some of these thoughts into my business, and how can I maybe flip my business to take the risk out of it and to more guaranteeably earn what it is that I want to earn? And we'll give that to you for completely free. Also, if you do own an outdoor business and you want to go and jump on a very affordable coaching opportunity, we regularly have what we call 5-day boot camps about growing outdoor businesses and outdoor careers happening. Next one's happening in early April, then one in June, every other month or so, I think. Mark, is that right?
Yep, 12th and then every 2 months. 5th of June, I think, is the next one.
Yeah, about then. So we'll also put the link for the boot camp in there. It is $5, but that does include 2 coaching sessions a day and live questions and answers for a week. And that's there for you as well. So if you're interested in growing your outdoor business, go click on one of those. And if not, wait for the next episode of A Business of the Outdoors, where we're going to jump into maybe another myth, maybe another something or other, but something about how to start or grow a business faster than the average George. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for joining. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell as well, and you'll keep on top of all these cool ideas.